Listening to Jesus when he warns of Satanism is of paramount importance for every Christian. Jesus, being the Son of God, has a deep understanding of the spiritual realm and the tactics of the enemy. Throughout the Bible, Jesus warns his followers about the dangers of Satanism and the importance of being vigilant against its influences. In Matthew 13:25, Jesus warns that Satan sows wheat among the wheat, indicating that Satan's influence can be subtle and insidious, often masquerading as something good. Jesus also warns about the dangers of false prophets and teachers who will lead people astray. In Matthew 7:15, Jesus says, "Beware of false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing but inwardly are ravenous wolves." This warning is especially relevant today, as many false teachers and prophets have arisen, leading people away from the truth of God's word. By listening to Jesus' warnings, we can be aware of these false prophets and avoid their teachings, which can lead to spiritual deception and ultimately to Satanism. Furthermore, Jesus warns about the dangers of spiritual complacency and the importance of being spiritually alert. In Luke 21:36, Jesus says, "But stay awake at all times, praying that you may have strength to escape all these things that are going to take place, and to stand before the Son of Man." This warning is a call to action, encouraging believers to be vigilant and prayerful, lest they fall prey to Satan's temptations. By listening to Jesus' warnings, we can avoid spiritual complacency and stay alert to the spiritual battles that are raging around us. In addition, Jesus warns about the dangers of idolatry and the importance of worshipping God alone. In Matthew 4:10, Jesus says, "Ye shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall ye serve." This warning is especially relevant today, as many people have turned to idolatrous practices, such as witchcraft and the occult, in search of spiritual power and enlightenment. By listening to Jesus' warnings, we can avoid these idolatrous practices and remain faithful to the one true God. Moreover, Jesus warns about the dangers of Satan's tactics, which can lead people to spiritual bondage. In John 10:10, Jesus says, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." This warning highlights the destructive nature of Satan's tactics, which can lead people to spiritual darkness and separation from God. By listening to Jesus' warnings, we can be aware of these tactics and avoid them, seeking instead the abundant life that Jesus offers. Finally, Jesus warns about the importance of spiritual discernment and the need to test every spirit. In 1 John 4:1, the Apostle John writes, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, for many false prophets have gone out into the world." This warning is a call to discernment, encouraging believers to evaluate every teaching and practice in light of God's word. By listening to Jesus' warnings, we can develop spiritual discernment and avoid being led astray by false teachings and practices. In conclusion, listening to Jesus when he warns of Satanism is crucial for every Christian. By heeding his warnings, we can avoid the dangers of false prophets, spiritual complicity, idolatry, Satan's tactics, and lack of spiritual discernment. Instead, we can seek the abundant life that Jesus offers, living in the light of God's word and avoiding the influences of Satanism. As we listen to Jesus' warnings, we can stay vigilant, prayerful, and faithful, trusting in God's power and protection to overcome every spiritual battle. By doing so, we can live a life that honors God and brings glory to his name.